I think I have a great idea, but for a little bit of context, I have two Subarus. The first being my 2006 Impreza, and the other being my 2000 2.5 RS two-door GC8. Now, both of these Subarus have something in common. They're both naturally aspirated, and they both have hood scoops. But their hood scoops serve quite literally no purpose whatsoever. My '06 Impreza has a fake hood scoop from one of the previous owners slapping it on there, and the GC8 came with the hood scoop, but has a plate under the hood blocking off any air or anything getting into the engine bay. While my dad has an '06 WRX with a hood scoop that actually serves a purpose. And out of pure jealousy, this gave me the idea. Why can't I, at least on my RS, make the hood scoop actually have a function? Now, how I plan on doing this is by first throwing out the plate from under the hood scoop and by redesigning and engineering a new airbox. That way, it redirects air from the hood scoop into the engine, forcing more air into the engine and becoming its own kind of forced induction, while hopefully taking the best of both worlds from the two different kinds of intakes, the cold air intakes and the ram air intakes, without any other issues, being that with cold air intakes, although you're getting cold air into the engine, you're not getting a lot of it, and it's not efficient. And the ram air intakes, while you're getting a lot of air into the engine, it's usually hot, warm air coming from the engine bay. But while looking around on the internet to see if anyone has already done this or if someone's had a similar idea to this, I haven't found shit, other than a few car manufacturers who have used this in the past. But hopefully, by implementing this idea into my Subaru, it'll be able to kick out a bit more power. As in order to make power, you need four things. You need air, fuel, spark, and compression. Compression, I am not too worried about because I don't plan on making a fuck ton of power out of using this idea. So all I have to focus on is air, fuel, and spark. And out of the three, I'd say the hardest, in my opinion, is getting more air into the engine. As typically, what most people would do is they just turbo the car and throw a boost at it to get more air into the engine and make more power. But I'm a broke college student, and that's kind of not in my deck of cards, so I need a new way to get a bit more power out of my engine cheaper. And this may just be the solution. But this video is not just a yap session on the idea of it all. I actually started getting into it, so here's that. So I started ripping shit out. I took out the airbox, I took out the brackets connected to the airbox, I took out the plate for the hood scoop, I loosened the hood scoop, I took everything out. If not, I loosened everything connected to all this shit. And I found something kind of interesting. So the main airbox that holds the air filter is split into two pieces. The main piece that connects to the throttle body also connects to three other vacuum hoses and holds the air filter. So technically, I can keep this piece of the air filter and engineer and redesign a new piece that connects to it, redirecting air from the hood scoop into the airbox, into the filter, into the engine. So with this idea in mind, I kept that piece of the airbox in, hooked up, all that shit, and I closed the hood and took the hood scoop off, and I kind of ran into a small problem.
Damn it.
Yeah, this bitch does not fit in right. So I threw everything back in the engine bay, closed it, and called it there for now because it was getting cold as shit outside. Because when I took this video, it was late fall, but that wasn't the end of my day, as later that night I came out, I measured the throttle body, and I designed and made a cap to go over the throttle body. That way, when the airbox is out of the car, the cap is on it, and as a safety precaution, it wouldn't allow any water or anything to get inside the engine bay and fuck up the engine. So the next day came, and I went back outside to work on the car, and I ripped everything back out again, and I decided to see how much room I had to make this airbox. How?
With cardboard. Hi, puppies.
I fucking love cardboard. You can do so much shit with cardboard and tape. I made a body kit on my dad's Mustang with it. But first thing I made was a cap to go over the throttle body because although I designed one already, that shit takes a long time to 3D print. So I made a temporary one and I started making a huge ass airbox out of cardboard to see how much room I had in the engine bay to design this thing. But with the problem I had earlier with the airbox piece, I want to keep being oriented in a weird way. I have a few options to deal with that. I can either keep it that way and figure out a way to get air around it and into it. I can just take it out and just make a whole new airbox by itself. I could reorient the air filter and keep the airbox piece and just figure out a way how to make that work. Or with the help of my dad, we came up with the idea of flipping the airbox piece we already have 180 degrees. That way it could still connect to some of the vacuum lines it needs to connect to. And it is a lot easier to direct air from the hood scoop into the filter, into the airbox piece, into the engine, which is probably the idea we're going to be sticking with throughout the rest of this video. So with that idea in mind, I brought the cardboard airbox I made with the original airbox back to campus with me so that I could start designing it. But for now, while designing this, I'm mainly just trying to find a way to secure the air filter to the airbox piece that I'm keeping, as the other piece of the airbox, which I'm not using anymore, was mainly holding it all together. So I got to the drawing board and I drew up a few parts. But while I was making these parts, I was being very anal and picky with how precise I wanted these measurements to be. With the time and resources I had, I managed to model in the old air filter and the old airbox piece that I'm keeping, while making two other parts that should be able to hold the air filter securely to the old airbox piece. I also made a few parts that should be able to redirect the air into the air filter. Some of these parts I will probably include in the final product, but the others are kind of just a rough idea of how I can redirect the air into the air filter while seeing how much room I have inside the engine bay as well. So with the parts I made, I took them home and started 3D printing them. And this took a long ass time, but I have all the parts and I can start test fitting them. Test fitting some of these parts, some of them actually fit pretty fucking well, but some will need a bit of modification, such as the two parts I made to secure the air filter to the old airbox piece. The two parts I made were a little bit bulky and needed a bit of force to be put into place and wouldn't really want to stay in place. So these things will need a little bit of modification to work. Some also just don't fit, like the pieces I made to redirect air, but really just to get an idea of how much area I have in the engine bay to make a piece. Some of those didn't really fit and were a little too big, so I also have to remodel those as well. But that's what I'm probably going to call it for part one of the Airbox project, as it is currently cold as shit outside right now, and since it's cold, I can't really 3D print anything, but it's starting to warm up, so I'll be able to 3D print more, so hopefully I can get more videos out sooner. Also, I called dibs on the Hunafox. I'll talk about that in a later video.